At the temple, a mother presented her crying, wounded child before the candidate Saintess, pleading that she heal him from a monster attack. The healing magic gleamed brightly, like a shining miracle, and our saint, Lua Ristot, smiles, waving them off. However, they didn't know the miracles she granted came at a cost for her. The temple was a place for the injured and sick to seek the Saintess's healing powers. A candidate saint's duty was to heal them, logically. However, despite Lua's diligent work, her cohorts mocked her because her healing functioned only by transferring the other person's ailments to herself. The concept of suffering to heal sounded absurd. Nonetheless, they knew she had no choice, unlike themselves, murmuring her nickname, the Broken Saintess. Lua knew she was defective. Absorbing ailments and healing herself was the only way she knew how to make things work. But she wanted to repay the temple for taking her in after losing her family and becoming an orphan. As long as she could heal someone, she was willing to bear it. And there was also a power she'd been hiding that was completely useless. Arianne Trebius then suddenly grabbed Lua, praising her for her excellent work today. Arianne doted over Lua, telling her not to take the other saints' nonsensical talk to heart. She recognized how hard Lua worked to fulfill the duties of a saintess. Lua was tearful with relief, because without Arianne, she felt like she wouldn't last here. Arianne then pointed towards the dashing Sir Garrett Vance, a man famed for becoming the captain of the knights at a young age. A hero in the hearts of all citizens. Lua had first met him when she just started working at the temple. When he requested healing from her, it failed initially, making her doubt her ability to succeed in serving as a saint. But it was then that he grabbed her shoulder, saying, "No one is perfect from the start." His encouragement was a beacon of hope, and from then on, his words became a pillar for her. She saw him as the captain of the knights that always worked tirelessly and felt she had to give her best as well. Arianne teased that Lua was staring at him again, but also thought the two were a great match. And despite Lua questioning her worthiness, Arianne promised her support. She wanted her favorite friend to be happy. Lua's feelings were likewise. She wanted Arianne to tell her if she ever liked someone, and the two pinky promised on it. A few days later, the knights were rushing into the temple. Lua was horrified to see Sir Garrett was bloodied on his deathbed, defeated by a monster. The bystanders spoke of how their hero wouldn't likely survive even with healing. Lua thought of his words that had carried her, and felt if no one else could heal him, then she would. She snuck into his room and willingly gave her life away in an attempt to save him. His wounds vanished, transferring to Lua, but she was just glad he was all right now. She stumbled to her bed, falling over, and couldn't heal herself because the speed of self-recovery was too slow for the severity of these wounds. Her life flashed before her eyes, and now she wondered if she was really going to die like this. When she came to, she immediately got chastised for leaving her candidate saint's work unattended for over a month while fooling around outside the temple and getting injured. Supposedly, not a single person came to visit her. And what really struck a nerve was this woman telling her, "You shouldn't have woken up at all." Lua asked about Sir Garrett, and the woman answered that Arianne had risked her life to heal him. Lua was at a loss for words, but she'd be at more of a loss hearing Arianne and Sir Garrett got engaged just a few days ago. Lua rushed out, completely confused by everything. The other saints spoke of how the two were a perfect match, especially since Garrett had slain so many monsters as of recent, with Arianne healing him all the while. They called her a true saintess. In comparison, they rebuked Lua for supposedly sneaking out of the temple to fool around with men, claiming they even heard her duties were fulfilled by Arianne as well. They cackled over Lua's shamelessness, despite her innocent demeanor, adding that these rumors were true because they'd heard it from Arianne herself. Lua just couldn't believe it. Panting and out of breath, she reached out to Arianne, asking if there was some kind of misunderstanding. Arianne was supposed to be her best friend, but Arianne shrieked, pushing on to Garrett, pleading for his help, and he scowled at Lua, pushing her down and asking what she wanted to do to his Ari. He had heard everything from his fiancée, that Lua pretended to be her friend while using and bullying her. He thought Lua was simply disgusting. Lua stuttered, trying to say she was the one who healed him, but she'd only be responded with his fierce glare. Now she understood. No matter how she explained, no one would believe her. With Garrett taking his leave, Arianne grabbed Lua's face, saying, Pathetic, Lua. I've always wanted to see you like this. As a toy for the pastime, you've done well. But you'll forgive me, right? Look, after all, we're best friends. Guys, I gotta stop for a sec. I hate Arianne so much. I'm losing my mind. Holy! The couple walked away, leaving Lua to get drenched in the pouring rain. Now Lua could finally see she herself was the fool in this relationship. Then her hair went from blonde to white. Some other men broke out in laughter, lightly kicking her a bit for spacing out here, asking why she was in a daze in a place like this. They pulled at her hair, so she coldly responded, "Don't touch me." She grabbed the man's wrist, suddenly inflicting it with a wound and causing him to ache so badly, the men were scared off. This power, contrary to healing, was one she always kept deep in her heart. Hit with the final straw that broke the camel's back, she smirked, supposing this would be much more useful than healing. Thunder struck as she uttered she wouldn't heal anymore, and a man watching from the corner behind was delighted to have witnessed it all. Several hundred years ago, when a deadly plague ravaged the kingdom of Zeed, there was a legend that a single girl saved the people with her healing powers. In order to enshrine Luce as a goddess, a temple was built in her name. Just like Luce, the temple gathered multiple people with healing powers, and they were treated as Saintess candidates. They used their abilities to serve the people. Healing abilities were said to appear mainly amongst noble women by the time they turned 10. Exceptional Saintess candidates were formally appointed as Saintesses and attained a status equal to that of royalty. However, the seat of Saintess had remained vacant for the past 10 years. That was because, for a long time, there weren't any suitable candidates. Before becoming an orphan, Lua once had ambitions of becoming a Saintess. She looked at her luscious white hair, recalling that it had been several days since the color changed, and it never returned. Was it from hitting the limits of her power and almost dying, or the emotional shock? She pondered this, but the memories of betrayal still haunted her mind. Lua wondered where she should go from here. Her fellow saints approached, one of them loudly calling her a defective Saintess. She mocked Lua's white hair, but Lua didn't react to the provocations. Enraged, the saint slammed the table, yelling, "Are you even listening?" Lua let them know that defective Saintess wasn't her name, so of course, it couldn't be her they were referring to. Every time she was bullied by these girls, Arianne would swoop in to protect her. But now, Lua understood Arianne surely led the bullying all along. Lua was made to believe they were best friends, just for Arianne to mock her. Still, the girl couldn't stand Lua's attitude. She slapped the teacup away from her hands, telling her that the rose garden was no place for her to be. The other girls cackled, but Lua glared at them, coldly replying, "Would you shut up for a second?" She grabbed the girl's wrist, unleashing a burning pain that made the saint scream in agony. This was the other ability she had kept hidden for so long. This power allowed her to take on other people's injuries and illnesses. She always healed it with self-recovery. However, she could also transfer the pain she had taken on to someone else. Lua never thought she'd use this terrifying power again, ever since she accidentally used it on her mother. The girl screamed and cried. The pain was just too unbearable, and she didn't care who. She just wanted someone to heal her. But the other Saintesses were too afraid, arguing over who should heal her. All Lua had done was given the girl a mild burn. Besides, she had taken on this level of pain many times before. With the snap of her fingers, the burn was gone. The girls were confused about what just happened. Lua felt these girls who mocked and looked down on her couldn't imagine the pain she had endured. On the way to her room, Lua was shocked, being approached by the second prince, Sven Zeed Crown, a man known for his sharp mind. So perfectly handsome, it was almost frightening. Sven wanted to speak with Lua about the darkness hidden within the temple. She was confused, but then the prince suddenly asked her to join him and take revenge. Arriving at the royal courtyard, Sven explained he cleared out the place, so no one could overhear their conversation. Lua then asked what he meant by the darkness within the temple. However, Sven stopped her, telling her to address him casually, but she hadn't agreed to work with him just yet. In response, he chuckled slightly. He then asked what she thought about the magical beast attacks that had been spreading in the past year, implying that it was a strange occurrence. Originally, magic beasts should have only existed in forests and wastelands of other nations. Until now, not a single one had ever been seen in the kingdom. Lua assumed someone was guiding the magic beasts and making them attack people, and Sven believed this someone was none other than the temple's highest authority, the High Priest. Lua slammed the table in disbelief. When her family perished from a mysterious illness, the high priest came to get her after hearing about her mysterious powers. Swen also explained that the high priest planned to boost the temple's support amongst the people. Ever since the attacks began, the Saintess candidates have been healing more people, shifting the people's focus entirely on the temple. He added that the priest was supposedly planning to rule the kingdom and surpass the royal family. Lua couldn't believe something so absurd. However, there were also 3 noble families that made large donations to the temple, who were also involved in this. The leading amongst them was the house of Count Treviars. Hearing this, Lua's heart sank. That was Arianne's family. Was her former best friend involved as well? Swen presumed the priest was likely working with a foreign clan that could control magical beasts, a western clan known as Yuan. Despite Prince Swen's investigations, the high priest wouldn't let him find conclusive evidence. This is where he needed Lua's help to expose his crimes, saying she had the qualification and power, more precisely, her pain-inflicting ability. Lua didn't expect her ability to be figured out so soon, thinking no one had noticed. However, Swen would tell her she could use this chance to get her revenge on Arianne. But, being a bit skeptical of his story, she requested time to think about it. As she walked through the halls, she thought if Swen's words were true, then it was something that could never be forgiven. Even then, she couldn't make the wrong judgment. She was no longer the same foolish girl who couldn't see the truth. And so, she sought the truth for herself. Suddenly, she heard soft voices speaking in the garden. Arianne promised to always help Garrett, no matter the kind of injuries he suffered, and he embraced his fiancée, promising to protect her as well. Seeing how lovey they were, Lua sank into despair. Fuming, she stormed out, but was stopped as the high priest called out to her. The high priest, Flix Ronhartz, born into a family that served the temple for generations. He was responsible for overseeing the candidate saintesses, known as a gentle and courteous person beloved by everyone. He reprimanded Lua's unauthorized outing, telling her to reflect on it. Although Lua no longer intended to offer explanations about the absurd rumors spread by Arianne, she couldn't help but wonder if Flix was truly the mastermind behind the incidents. All this time, Lua never took any breaks like her cohorts. The high priest saw this as natural and said to her, "Lua, your abilities are inferior to that of other candidate saintesses, so you need to work twice as hard. This is for your own good." Wow. Masterclass in gaslighting. Get a girl who's an orphan, make her work harder than the others by saying it's good for her. Thinking about it now, Lua wondered if this was really for her own good. She decided to investigate the matter thoroughly. She arrived at the royal castle's library, amazed by the astonishing collection of books. She grabbed one, hoping to find information about the Yuan tribe within. First, she focused on the ethnic characteristics of Western nations. They had golden eyes and brown skin, especially the Yuan tribe. Yuan was a minority tribe that dwelled deep in the forests. They seemingly possessed the ability to control magical beasts. Their distinguishing features included a unique language and a scale-shaped tattoo on their necks. Prince Swen approached Lua with a cheerful and friendly demeanor, but she wondered why he was acting so friendly towards her. Afterwards, she sadly informed him that she hadn't found anything about the high priest yet. Swen then introduced Lua to his trusted subordinate, Shiji Rubin. One look at him, and the resemblance to the Western nations was undeniable. He wasn't Yuan, but grew up in humble neighborhoods around there, apparently, and also learned the language of the Yuan tribe. With a slight bow, Rubin accepted Swen's orders to assist Lua. She was amazed by Rubin's loyalty. It was unusual and rare for a foreigner to become a royal advisor. Just before he turned to leave, the prince warned her the high priest will likely make his move under the cover of the night. Now, he wanted to watch and see if Lua was truly his goddess. That night, Lua snuck out under a cloak to investigate, following the prince's advice. If someone saw her, it would surely spark rumors, but she didn't care anymore. Walking past the window, she caught a figure of someone by the corner of her eye. She quickly put out her candle and followed quietly. Soon, she arrived at the Tower of Prayer, which was scheduled for demolition. Lua then saw Flix's aide speaking to someone in a foreign language. She caught a glimpse of the tattoo on the foreigner's neck and could understand part of the language, thanks to Rubin. The aide led the foreigner into the tower, where Flix was already waiting. Lua's throat tightened when she saw the high priest. But no, she needed to see the truth with her own eyes. First, she had to deal with the guard. Her ability could only be activated through physical touch, and in this situation, she had no choice. Lua walked up to Flix's aide, posing, I'm a new maid at the temple. I got lost, and asked how to get to the maid's dormitory. The aide paused for a moment before pointing her in the direction of the dormitory, and as Lua thanked him, she grabbed his hand, inflicting a pain so great it felt like his head was splitting, and he knocked out. Then she snapped her fingers, healing him while entering. Inside, Flix praised the foreigner for unleashing the monsters on Mereni village. And just like that, Lua discovered the truth. The high priest wasn't innocent. But then, her eyes shifted. There was someone else in the room. Her heart dropped, seeing Arianne as well. Arianne complained that Flix hadn't made her Saintess yet, and Flix replied that their plan had only just begun. He also revealed he was the one who arranged her engagement to Garrett. Arianne believed only a revered hero like Garrett was worthy of her as a Saintess, yet knew there was always a fool who dared to have a crush on him. She continued to berate Lua, mocking her feelings and calling her an incompetent, broken Saintess, and that it was disgusting that Lua ever thought of her as a friend. Lua forced herself to remain silent as the words pierced her heart. Flix added she was only useful as the perfect puppet. Once their plans succeeded, the other candidate Saintesses would become disposable tools as well. Just as they were about to speak their true intentions, Lua's elbow knocked against a wooden box. The sound was enough for the foreigner to notice. Lua covered her mouth, but she was going to get exposed, and he was coming closer. As Lua panicked, Ruben pulled her close and let loose a swarm of rats to cause a distraction. Arianne screamed as they scurried near, shouting, "I absolutely hate ugly, filthy things," and urged the foreigner to do something. Arianne's words echoed through Lua's mind, and she wondered if Arianne saw her the same as those rats. Lua escaped with Ruben and thanked him sincerely. He'd been secretly watching over her and the high priest under Prince Swen's orders. Swen soon appeared, casually noting how beautiful the moon was. He was impressed that Lua dared to sneak in and spy on the high priest, but catching them in a secret meeting wasn't enough. Ruben noted that they needed to gather solid evidence of their wrongdoings. For that, the prince asked Lua to join him again in exposing their enemies and seeking revenge. Remembering their faces, Lua agreed, swearing to never forgive Flix and Arianne. The following morning, she admitted that sneaking into the secret meeting was a daring move, even for her. Then, she saw a silver key glowing on her table. That night, the prince gave her the key, explaining it opened a hidden conservatory in the courtyard he often used. The place would serve as their meeting spot. He asked her to come at 3 o'clock the next day without being seen. Swen then planted a kiss on Lua's hand. She thought the prince was a little dramatic, but she chose to trust him. She was set on stopping the high priest and Arianne, no matter the cost. Later, she arrived at the conservatory. As she opened the door, Swen greeted her with a dazzling smile. As Lua sat down, Ruben poured her some tea. The prince explained that only a handful of people knew about his conservatory. It had been a secret hideout since he was a child. When Lua asked if it was really okay to bring her here, Swen replied, "Of course. We're accomplices now. We have to share our secrets." Since they were now working together, the prince asked Lua to speak more casually so they could get along better. He also said she was free to use this place however she liked, and invited her to come read sometime, knowing how much she loved books. Lua was flush, realizing the prince had noticed her reaction in the library. He really didn't miss a thing. She agreed to his request and called him Swen instead of Your Highness, which made his eyes light up with joy. After that, Lua asked about their strategy, and Swen pointed to a book beside her. As she flipped it open, he asked if she knew the man in it, and of course she did. The man's name was Roz Desmond, a known womanizer viscount. There was no one in the noble society who didn't know his name. A self-acknowledged and widely recognized playboy, rumors about him never stopped. Desmond's diplomatic skills seemed solid, but his bad reputation far outweighed his achievements. Though he had a wife and son, he was constantly having affairs and living apart from them. Prince Swen then said Desmond was one of the nobles working with the high priest and his allies. With his diplomatic skills, he had been privately exchanging goods with the Western country, but these public deals were just camouflage. A portion of the goods sent by Viscount Desmond was likely being secretly passed on to the Yuan clan. Lua surmised the clan controlled the magic beasts to receive rewards. Swen praised her for her keen intuition, and explained that after the Yuan clan tamed the beasts, Desmond probably arranged their import into the country. Thinking of all the victims, Lua trembled with anger. Swen suggested digging into Desmond's trade records to find solid proof of his crimes, evidence that could expose the high priest's schemes. Noticing they needed the documents, Lua asked how to get them. Swen showed a letter and explained that a ball was planned for Desmond's birthday, and as royalty, he had been invited to attend as a representative. Lua thought the Viscount seemed selfish to abandon his family. Swen chuckled. His earrings sparkled, drawing Lua's attention. He asked if something was wrong. but she brushed it off. Lua wondered if he intended to sneak into the ball, and Swen replied, yes, just the two of us. Then, kneeling, he asked, will you dance with me? A total show-off, but Lua accepted gladly if it meant revenge. Meanwhile, Garrett was seated when Arianne sneakily covered his eyes. He recognized her instantly. She rushed here to tell him something important and presented a letter inviting him to the Viscount's birthday ball, promising it would be luxurious and amazing. Garrett didn't care for such fancy events, but Arianne begged him sweetly, saying she really wanted to go. Swayed by her charm, he gave in. A soldier brought his injured partner to the captain, blaming a mistake during sparring. Seeing the broken leg, Garrett knew they had to act fast. He was relieved Arianne was nearby. She could heal him right away. But she was annoyed, thinking healing was such a chore, and it had to happen while she was enjoying time with Garrett. Putting on a sweet face, she said, I'm sorry, I really wanted to help, but I've been using my power too much lately. Once again, Garrett gave in to her sweet charm and told the soldier to have another Saintess candidate heal the injured one. Concerned, he hoped the wound would heal properly, and Arianne assured him it would be fine. When she said it was a small matter, Garrett's eyes shook. She talked about wanting a new dress, but he was stunned that she would call his subordinate's injury a small thing. Still, he thought maybe she was just excited about the ball and found her adorable. The high priest then called over Arianne, and she bid Garrett farewell. As she left, his smile disappeared. Dang, is he catching on? I hope she loses everything. Subscribe to keep up with the next parts, but for now, watch this next video. It's me, Comfy T. I'll see you all in the next one.